getting interference on our mic. So
We could turn that off. Someone can. Nick.
I think it's someone else that had a mic. I don't think it's the guy.
It's not that?
No.
Okay. It might be right here. The Tour tracker's creating interference. There are opponents tracking us. I'm kidding. Politics.
Politics is a blog. It's like California politics sort of blog.
So is that what the Tour tracker is under?
The Tour tracker is actually through the Courage campaign, which is a California progressive nonprofit.
That's what I thought, but your thing says Politics.
Yeah, they're actually sponsoring our press blog.
Oh,
so.
okay.
But today I wanted to sort of ask you a few questions that David Blankenhorn, who was the defense expert in the Proposition 8 trial in California.
Okay.
So he's one of your experts, and he was talking.
Well, again, let me just correct you. He's not one of our experts. We're not Protect Marriage. We're a different group.
Okay, so the side that wants to protect marriage or doesn't want to extend marriage benefits to gay and lesbian couples.
The side that doesn't want to redefine marriage.
Correct.
Okay.
And so he was asked by the plaintiff's attorney about some of the positive or negative consequences of same-sex marriage, and they're sort of in statements and they're sort of yes or no questions, but you're free to talk further afterwards. And I just want to sort of get your opinion on a few of these. Is that okay?
That's fine.
So one of the positive consequences, and whether you agree or not, we'd like to know. Same-sex marriage would meet the stated needs and desires of lesbian gay couples who want to marry. In doing so, it would improve the happiness and well-being of many gay and lesbian individuals, couples, and family members. Do you agree with that?
Look, David is a friend. I respect him, but I disagree with him on a lot of different things. David's position on same-sex marriage, though, is interesting because he opposes same-sex marriage, but he's for civil unions.
Well, I'm not really asking about David Blankenhorn's opinion. I'm really trying to figure out what your opinion on these different statements were, and so they're just sort of general statements that David agreed with.
I'm going to answer these questions not in a yes or no way. I'm going to answer them the best way I can, in the way that I think is most important. Like a ton of bricks.
Because the Prop 8 attorneys, the defense attorneys, chose to put him up as an expert. So they chose him because they thought his views were somewhat valid or relevant to the proceedings.
Do you know how difficult it is to be in academia today and to stand up and say that you support marriage as the union of a man and a woman? Do you realize how difficult that is? How easy do you think it would have been to get a number of expert witnesses at major universities to stand up and say, I believe that marriage is the union of a man and a woman, and have no repercussions on their career?
Okay, so what do you think about the statement that gay marriage would extend a wide range of the natural and practical benefits of marriage to many lesbian gay couples and their children? Do you agree with that, or yes or no?
I look at marriage. I look at the whole question in a different way. I don't think you can extend marriage to same-sex couples, because by nature, marriage is something, and that thing which marriage is the union of a man and a woman. Once you create these something you call same-sex marriage, that's no longer marriage. The state doesn't create marriage. This is why our sides this is why we have this fundamental disagreement.
The state redefines civil marriage.
I don't. Again, the whole language
I'm talking
changes.
about the difference between getting a marriage license versus getting married in a specific
I don't accept this bifurcation between civil and religious marriage.
Why do we have to get a marriage license before we go to our temple to get married?
In different states this is handled differently. Here in the U.S., ministers can actually preside over the civil part of the marriage. In other states, it's handled differently.
So would you be against civil unions which extend the same benefits to gay and lesbian union couples that marriage does?
I answered this question yesterday. Which supporter of same-sex marriage has a bargain on the table to say, if you guys stop, if you guys agree to civil unions, there's a bargain here. You guys quit trying to oppose same-sex marriage. We'll quit pushing for same-sex marriage, and we'll agree to civil unions.
If they came to the table with that bargain, whether or not that would be okay, if it's just the word marriage, or is it something more than that word?
Well, the word is critical, and NOM's focus is on protecting marriage as the union of a man and a woman. Obviously, in most of the state, the word is connected with the institution. As with any social institution, the word matters, but it's connected with the reality itself.
What I think have the same protections as marriage.
Who's they? Can opposite-sex couples enter into it too?
Can opposite-sex couples enter into a
civil union?
Well, I would think so.
Well, in most states they can't. Civil unions are created in states like New Jersey or
So you can't
California.
be a domestic partner in California if you're not?
No, it's for same-sex civil unions. That's my understanding. In California, it's changed now because of the law. In New Jersey, I believe only same-sex couples could enter into civil unions.
My other question is whether extending the right to marry to same-sex couples would probably mean that a higher proportion of gays and lesbians would choose to enter into committed relationships. Do you agree with that statement or disagree?
Well, I want to go back to Dr. King. I mean, the statement about Dr. King, I think, is another area of a big divide between, my view of marriage and your view of marriage and your supporters. I think that Dr. King was motivated and inspired by his religious convictions to stand up against a great injustice. I think the
You don't
civil
think he
rights
was motivated
movement.
by the fact that he was an African-American male without the same rights as other white males?
Well, that was obviously a part of it. But if you read the letters
probably
from
was
the
like a big-
Birmingham, if you read letters from a Birmingham prison and his own words on what inspired him, he quotes from St. Paul, he quotes from Aquinas, he quotes from a number of great theologians to underscore his belief in the nature of law. And one of his statements in the Birmingham prison is that a law, if it is not a moral law, is no law at all. It's not in conjunction with the moral law. I have a feeling that if those that are saying there needs to be this radical separation between faith and politics or morals and politics would feel a little uncomfortable reading that. And my view of King is that
I don't feel
King,
at all uncomfortable with reading the letter from a Birmingham jail, and I'm greatly in favor of the separation of church and state for a number of reasons.
Still have no statement from Queer Action Rhode Island, Courage Campaign, Joe Salmonese, Freedom to Marry, not a single one.
Statement from the Courage Campaign about Queer Action Rhode Island's actions in Providence.
Well,
Courage
again,
Campaign is a
why
California organization.
everyone should be standing up against hatred,
So
period.
do you think that extending the right to marry to same-sex couples would probably mean that a higher proportion of gays and lesbians would choose to enter into committed
I don't
relationships?
accept the nature of the question. I don't think you can extend the right of marriage because the question itself is formed in such a way that I don't accept it.
Do you think same-sex
can't
marriage would likely contribute to more stability and to longer-lasting relationships for committed same-sex couples?
Again, I don't accept the nature of the question. I don't. First
Do
of
you
all,
think that same-sex marriage might lead to less sexual promiscuity among lesbians and perhaps especially gay men?
our focus is on protecting marriage as the union of a man and a woman. The questions you're asking are, first of all, as I said in the beginning, I don't accept this language of extending marriage. Marriage is the union of a man and a woman. By its nature, that's what it is. If the state creates some other arrangement and calls it marriage, it's not marriage. That's not what a marriage is.
Do you think same-sex marriage would signify greater social acceptance of homosexual love and the worth and validity of same-sex intimate relationships?
I think that, again, you want to focus on homosexual love, homosexual act. What the overwhelming majority of churches agree on is that marriage is the union of one man and one woman. And you're continuing to see that, the Catholic Church's teaching is absolutely clear.
Is denying one church, one single church, the right to marry gay and lesbian couples an infringement of their religious
But again, I think because you accept this bifurcation between religious and civil marriage, you accept the nature of the question in the first place.
I just don't think you want to answer the question.
No, the fact is that when a church does a marriage, the state recognizes that marriage. So it's connected up with the state. And the state's definition of marriage needs to be in accordance with what marriage is.
You went to Oxford, right?
Yes.
Me too.
Okay.
Would you get away with not answering questions in the Socratic method there in the way that you do now?
Well, I'm not getting away with anything. I'm of course not going to allow questions where the basis of the question itself I disagree with. If you're going to use language like extending marriage benefits to same-sex couples, of course I don't accept that.
Why? I mean, it's posing a hypothetical question.
No, I don't accept the nature of the. It's as if I want to be exact in answering any of these questions, and it would be the same as asking why don't you accept the right of same-sex couples to marry? Because if I accept that question, then I accept that there is a right for same-sex couples to marry.
Completely unwilling to even deal with my hypetical question. Completely unwilling whatsoever. It's like you don't understand what hypothetical means.
No,
like
I don't.
You can't even make a comment on the conclusion.
I'm gonna. As I said from the beginning, I'm willing to do interviews with you guys. Clearly, you come from a totally opposing point of view, but I believe in reason and I believe in civil debate. But if you ask me a question and I disagree with the basic formulation of the question, I'm going to point it out.
Do you think the existence of gay marriage might contribute over time to a decline in anti-gay prejudice, as well as more specifically a reduction in anti-gay hate crimes?
again, you're asking me to answer a hypothetical. I haven't even spent much time thinking. I probably think that same-sex marriage, I have no idea what it would do for those things. We don't have a long enough track record in states where we do have same-sex marriage.
Do you think that extending marriage rights to same-sex couples would probably reduce the proportion of homosexuals who marry persons of the opposite sex, and thus would likely reduce instances of marital unhappiness and divorce?
I have no idea what the answer to that question would be.
And tons of our readers want to know if you think divorce is as significant a threat to marriage as same-sex marriage.
Well, I view same-sex marriage as sort of the end of the line in redefining and redefining marriage, and also threatening the institution.
Would you agree with a law that prohibited divorce in some way?
Prohibited divorce? I don't think that's realistic.
Thomas Scott made a reference to the Tea Party earlier today and sort of said it's time to put down your pinky fingers and put down your teacups. What do you think about that statement?
Well, we get a lot of support from people that are involved in the Tea Party, and generally this idea that Tea Party groups are only concerned about fiscal issues is just not true. A lot of Tea Party folks are very upset about, for example, being deprived of their right to vote, and the larger issue of same-sex marriage. So, we'll.
So you don't agree with her mocking tone of the Tea Party?
Well, I thought most people took it as funny, as a joke. I think you're being a little heavy-handed. I think a lot of the Tea Party people sort of laugh too.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.